Owner of over 45 individual companies, 66,000 employees, and a net worth estimated upwards of $3 billion, this business tycoon surprisingly really was never any different from you and I. Although such an extraordinary man with unthinkable achievements, this story will open your eyes to what can be made possible with hard work, calculated risk, and an undeniable desire for success. This is a full biography of Richard Branson in less time than reading a chapter of a book. It all kicked off for Richard when he was just 15 and decided to leave school to focus on his new venture. Richard began to focus on the magazine he had created for students, The Student. He used this magazine to voice his opinion on all school-related issues and interview celebrities such as John Lennon and Mick Jagger, whilst also providing an advisory centre for troubled students. He quickly began to attract advertisements, and from his first issue alone he had sold £8,000 worth of advertisements, allowing him to issue 55,000 copies.
I had no wish to become an entrepreneur. All I wanted to do was edit a magazine to answer back. And it was only when I started trying to see how I could finance it that I, in a sense, started to become an entrepreneur. I mean, I had to work out of the telephone box selling the advertising space in order to raise some money to launch the magazine.
Come 1969, when Branson was now 19, he had now begun a mail-order record business that used his magazine as a promotion. By this time, Richard had acquired a team of 20 people and named his new record business Virgin, after a worker had suggested the name as they were all new to business. Not long after the success of Virgin, however, Richard was faced with having to sell the Student magazine in 1970 in order to pursue Virgin. In no time, Richard had bought himself a record store on Oxford Street, and after undercutting the market and his mum remortgaging her house, in 2 years Richard had scaled from a single location to 14 stores across the country. In the same year, Richard, with his newfound wealth, invested into founding a music label, Virgin Records. To kick this off, Richard Branson bought a small castle in Wales and renovated it into the Virgin Records studio.
This imposing Oxfordshire manor house is the country seat of Richard Branson, that's him on the roof, rock and roll's merriest millionaire. He bought the manor 10 years ago for £25,000 and converted the barn into a recording studio.
Richard's strategy to success here was to sign developing artists other labels were too afraid to. This soon led to a great success. In under a year, when the signed artist Mike Osborne sold more than 13 million copies of his record Tubular Bells, making Richard Branson a millionaire at just 23. Richard, after this great success, faced a patch of dry business and was left relying on the funds from Tubular Bells to keep him afloat. This length of time, however, did not last long before an even bigger success with, at the time, controversial band Sex Pistols.
That group have received £40,000 from a record company. Doesn't that seem to be slightly opposed to their anti-materialistic view of life?
No, the more the merrier.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, tell me more about
We
it.
fucking spent it, haven't we?
I don't know, have you?
Yeah. It's all gone.
Really?
Down the boozer.
40? Really? Good Lord. Go on, you've got another 5 seconds. Say something outrageous.
You dirty bastard.
Go on, again.
You dirty fucker.
What a clever boy.
What a fucking rotter.
Well, that's it for tonight.
By the end of the decade, Virgin Records was the 6th largest record company in the world and was soon to become the most successful independent record company ever. Of course, with Richard's entrepreneurial instincts, he quickly looked for ways to reinvest his money and start his next venture. But this time, before he would do that, in 1979, Richard looked to treat himself, introducing Necker Island.
It's 73 acres of pure paradise. Necker is one of the British Virgin Islands. And for Sir Richard Branson, founder and CEO of the Virgin Group, it's the place he calls home.
I first heard about it when I was 27 years old and I was chasing Joan. So I pretended I wanted to buy an island, and the estate agent laid on a house and a helicopter for me. And we came down for the weekend, saw this beautiful island from the air, and put in a ridiculously low offer for it. But about a year later, they rang me up and said that nobody else had come to see the island, and if I upped the offer to $120,000, we could have it.
Branson's next ventures involved opening a Virgin American record label, as well as Virgin Vision, Virgin Games, Virgin Rags, and a range of other London nightclubs. Soon followed came Virgin Books and Virgin Video. that were each established in 1981, and by 1983, when Richard was just 33, his empire included more than 50 different companies with combined sales of more than £17 million. When Richard was 34, he became stranded at the airport after a flight was cancelled. Instead of waiting a few days, Richard ordered a private jet and began to sell the rest of the seats on his plane to other people at the airport that should have been on his flight. Richard felt inspired to create an airline and began talks with a man called Randolph, who wanted to start a business class airline company. The two partners could not come to an agreement, as Richard wanted to offer budget flights, which soon led to Richard buying out Randolph, taking out a loan and buying a second-hand 747, hence forming Virgin Atlantic, that would soon be his biggest venture yet. Virgin Atlantic made a name for itself for being cheeky and adventurous, so that it would stand out against dominating companies such as British Airways. Virgin Atlantic was the first airline to offer personal entertainment for all of its passengers in all of its classes. Richard's slogan to advertise this entertainment was "Play with yourself," which was later renamed to 9 inches of pure pleasure. Richard also participated in many stunts to bring attention and adventure to the company, including crossing the Atlantic in a hot air balloon, crossing the Pacific Ocean in a hot air balloon, abseiling down New York sky rises, and kissing with the Spice Girls. Virgin Atlantic's first flight operated on June 22nd, 1984 from London Gatwick to New Jersey. Virgin Atlantic now has 41 planes in operation and a company valued at £3.1 billion in 2020, although this certainly didn't come without its struggles. Up until 1984, British Airways, run by successful businessman Lord John King, had a monopoly position within the British airline industry and was the only firm flying long haul from Heathrow Airport. This, however, was all at stake as Branson began to interfere. Lord John King once remarked Richard to be too old to rock and roll and too young to fly, but this was soon turned on its head when Lord John King realised he would have to take action to get rid of its growing competitor, Virgin. British Airways formed a top-secret unit that would go on to become widely known as the Dirty Tricks campaign. BA used the same telephone booking agents as Virgin did at the time, and consequently meant BA could intercept and interfere with customers booking flights with Virgin. It was soon brought to light by embarrassed BA workers that their company had been cancelling customers' flights with Virgin and rebooking them with BA.
Hello, this is Virgin Atlantic here. Yeah, I'm just inquiring about the number of passengers we had on our flight to Tokyo, Narita.
Lord John King's strategy, although harsh, it was working, and in just October 1993, Virgin had an operating loss of nearly £10 million. This made it especially hard for Richard to finance a legal battle against their giant competitor, and this eventually led to Richard being forced to sell his prized possession, Virgin Records, in 1992 for a reported $960 million. With this extra stash of cash, Richard was now ready for war with BA and took them to court in 1993 for libel, where it was proven the BA CEO had directed the Dirty Tricks campaign on Virgin. In December 1993, Richard walked away successful, with compensation of around £945,000, in which he equally shared with his staff members.
We ended up winning the largest libel damages in British history. It was Christmas time, so we distributed them to all our staff equally, and it became known as the British Airways Christmas bonus, and all our staff were very, very happy.
Once Virgin Atlantic was on its way, Richard focused on his next ventures. Virgin Brides and Virgin Cola were just some of Branson's businesses that weren't successful. But in 1997, Virgin Trains were founded, and 4 years later, Virgin Mobile was also founded, that together have amassed a huge success. Richard has also shown a lot of attention towards space exploration, with various businesses he runs including Virgin Galactic, Virgin Orbit, Vox, and the Spaceship Company. Virgin's ambitious aims to one day create cheap space tourism are still a while away. However, I can imagine you would understand by now there's probably not a lot Richard Branson can't do. There's plenty more to mention surrounding Richard and his lifestyle. However, that would require a film to be made. Richard Branson has written a range of books that I can personally recommend giving a read if you found this video interesting. I hope you did enjoy, and if so, please subscribe to help my channel grow. See you soon.